Can Europe truly sleep soundly when a shadow from Moscow is casting such a dark and direct warning across the continent? What happens when a drone, carrying a message of potential conflict, crashes not in a contested zone, but on the soil of a NATO member? Before we dive into the chilling implications of this escalating tension, if you want to stay on top of everything happening in U.S. politics and its global ripple effects, hit that subscribe button right now and leave a like. It really helps this channel grow and ensures you don't miss critical updates like this. The headline says it all. Putin advisor warns EU after drone hits Romania. The peaceful sleep is over. This isn't hyperbole. It's a direct quote from Dmitry Medvedev, the deputy chair of Russia's Security Council and a former president himself. His message, delivered on Friday, was unambiguous. The European Union should be vigilant because, in his view, Europe has now entered into a war with Russia. This declaration comes in the wake of an incident where an errant Russian drone reportedly crashed in Romania. While the exact circumstances are still being pieced together, whether it was a technical malfunction, a navigational error, or something more deliberate, the fact that a Russian drone ended up on NATO territory, particularly in a country like Romania, which shares a border with Ukraine and is strategically important to the alliance, is a significant development. Medvedev's statement paints a picture of an EU that has, in his words, unilaterally entered into this conflict. He's essentially accusing European leaders of actively engaging in hostilities against Russia, and now, the consequences are knocking on their door. He's directly addressing the citizens of EU countries, urging them to realize the gravity of their authorities' actions. This isn't just about military hardware or distant battlefields anymore. It's about the potential for direct, albeit perhaps accidental, incursions into NATO territory. The implications are staggering. For years, the conflict in Ukraine has been largely contained to Ukraine itself, with NATO countries providing support but actively avoiding direct confrontation with Russia. However, the presence of a Russian drone on Romanian soil, even if errant, blurs those lines significantly. Who is affected here? Directly, of course, the citizens of Romania and the broader European Union are now faced with a heightened sense of insecurity. The warning from Medvedev is not just political rhetoric. It's a signal that Russia perceives the EU as a direct adversary, and any perceived aggression will be met with a forceful response. This could lead to increased military readiness, heightened surveillance, and a general climate of fear and uncertainty across Europe. Indirectly, this impacts the United States, as NATO's leading member. The U.S. has a mutual defense treaty with NATO allies, meaning an attack on one is an attack on all. While a downed drone might not be an Article 5 trigger, it certainly escalates the risk and could put more pressure on Washington to bolster its commitments to European defense. What are the possible outcomes? This incident could lead to several scenarios. First, a diplomatic crisis. Romania, as a NATO member, will likely demand answers and explanations from Russia, potentially leading to sanctions or other punitive measures. Second, an acceleration of military buildup in Eastern Europe. NATO countries might feel compelled to reinforce their air defenses and patrol borders more rigorously. Third, and perhaps most concerning, an increased risk of accidental escalation. With drones and other military assets operating in close proximity to NATO airspace, the chance of miscalculation or unintended incursions grows. Medvedev's words, "The peaceful sleep is over," suggest a deliberate attempt to sow discord and fear, to make European citizens question their safety and perhaps pressure their governments to reconsider their stance on the war in Ukraine. It's a psychological warfare tactic, aiming to exploit anxieties about the conflict spilling over. This event forces us to confront the uncomfortable reality that the war in Ukraine is not a distant problem for Europe. It is a direct threat that is becoming increasingly tangible. The line between support and direct involvement, a line that NATO has strived to maintain, is becoming thinner and more porous with each passing day and each new incident. The drone in Romania is a stark reminder that the geopolitical chessboard is dynamic, and the pieces are constantly moving into more dangerous positions. So what do you think about this? Is this a deliberate provocation by Russia, or a genuine accident with dangerous implications? And how should the EU and NATO respond to this heightened threat? Drop your opinion in the comments below. I read every single one. The world is watching, and the warnings from Moscow are growing louder. We will continue to monitor this evolving situation and bring you the latest analysis. Stay informed, stay vigilant.